This it's the same story every week, Dutch. Not including commercials. It took 11 minutes for the first word to be uttered. And it was by Roman Reigns in a promo. This is from the beginning of Raw.
You're not including commentators.
Not including the commentators, no.
Okay.
And then there was Cody Rhodes came out after he said like one word. Then CM Punk came out. It was all the longest entrances you could ever think of, all one after the other. Took 28 minutes, not including commercials, for the first match to start.
28 minutes.
28 minutes.
See, that's in complete, I'm on denial or complete reverse of what I first learned in the business. And I think WWE used to do this. You start the show off with a hot match. Hot. Then you do your in-ring after that. You got to hook the people first. I bet in that 28 minutes, I think they have the ratings come out for this yet.
No, they take about a week and a half. And I don't really think you get anything too concrete anyway, but they must be sat around going, why aren't we hooking the fans in the first 30 minutes? Why are they all leaving really quickly? It must be because of something other than the obvious, is that nothing happens.
That's a good thought, Mr. James.
But it's every week. I started timing them every week. You don't have to time. You can just look on the Netflix scroll bar. For us, anyway, not for you. For us, for you as well, because it's on Netflix. But for SmackDown, it's on USA. But it's every single week. I'm just wondering, how can the WWE, Triple H and Co. be so creatively bereft of any ideas whatsoever that they just they format every single show the same, and the one format they use is really boring. Help me, Dutch. What's happening?
I'm not going to disagree with you because they've had this problem before. See, because it was so predictable. It's just the people that are different. It's the same ones coming out week after week after week. Hey, listen, guys, why don't you change this up a little bit? And I'm sure that they're aware of it too, but who is stopping them from changing it up? It had to be the guy who's in charge of it. It's got to be Triple H. But this is also a different time now. It's a different era, a different person in charge from the old Vince days. But Vince used to do it too. So I never understood it. And it doesn't really make for the best shows at all. So on Raw now, they don't have a set time for the show, right?
No, it can be pretty much anything it wants to be.
It could be an hour and 45 minutes.
It won't be, because they might record main event beforehand, but maybe they don't. But have a guess how many matches were on this 3-hour show, Dutch?
I think you told me, but I'm going to say 4.
4 matches on a 3-hour show.
How many?
4 of them.
4. Well, that's like 1 1/3 for every hour.
It's like you booking 4 Iron Man matches, because otherwise, it's like you. Here's the thing: as a fan, actually going to the shows, do you know what you want to see? You want to see loads of wrestling matches. You want to see loads of people and feel like you got your money's worth. And say what you want about AEW, we say a lot. But for goodness sake, they put on an awful lot more matches, and you see an awful lot more than WWE these days. But it's almost like that. It's almost like WWE have got this challenge to themselves to see how little they can do and stretch it out over 3 hours. It's like the worst episodes of Nitro.
Because it's entertainment. It's not wrestling.
But it's not entertaining.
Well, it's supposed to be.
It's not sports because there's nothing happening, and it's not entertaining because nothing's happening. It's just some people doing things for 3 hours, and then you change channel.
Tell me, what are the ratings right now?
Terrible.
Well, what does that mean, though?
Okay.
I mean, the ratings are different than they were years ago when I followed them.
Right. Nobody quite knows what the Netflix ratings are. All that is known is that the ratings have crashed since the debut in January. That's basically all people know, for absolutely sure. Now, on television, ratings are also really bad because, one, it's, the NFL season's kicking off, and that's the biggest killer of television of every other program. But also Nielsen, who, and I know you hate ratings talk, Dutch, but Nielsen, who not adjudicates but collates all the information and gives you these rating numbers, has completely changed how they record the viewership for television shows. For whatever reason, that has hit the 18 to 49 demographic, which wrestling generally has quite high viewership in, and therefore AEW and WWE shows that are on television are seeing something like a 15-20% reduction in reported viewership. So as bad as viewership was beforehand, it's even worse now, according to the new metrics that Nielsen are using. So Dynamite's now getting under 500,000 views an episode. They're doing worse than half my YouTube channels. And that's not. I'm not even being facetious.
It's underneath your YouTube channel.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah,
but you're 24 hours. But you could get Raw 24 hours too, right?
Yeah.
Well, so what are we going to do, James? We got to save this.
Yeah. Well, actually,
I think it's boiled down to us saving this for the universe.
And that's where you're going to come in right now, Dutch, because I'm going to ask you this. When you were doing Puerto Rico, when you were booking Florida or helping with Memphis or wherever else it might have been, what was the ideal format to start a show? Would you start with a match? Would you start with a promo? Would you start with an angle? Would you start with a recap? Or would you mix it up constantly?
I'd always mix it up. But a lot of times I would start with a hot match, get through it, and then I would say probably 7 out of 10 shows, I would start I had a show within a show. And WWE used to do this too. I would do a vignette of, say, 2 guys out looking for this guy they want to kill. They're driving around, but they're doing an interview too, and they're looking for him. And when they find him, they're going to beat the living crap out of him. And I would do a lot of these at night too. And not just daytime. I'd do it at night. I used to go down to Old San Juan, which is really the oldest city in Puerto Rico. That's where the big, the castle is, and when they did all this, and I would drive up and down those streets, and we would do the show then, and they were looking for somebody. So now we got that in our heads. They're looking for a guy, Ray Gonzalez, say it was his name. And they would stay tuned for that all the way to the end, because I would run a storyline all the way through it. And then, say, after the second match, I'd run another one. And they're only like 45 seconds or no more than a minute, because they think they saw him or they got a phone call. He's in such and such a place. All right, we're going over there. Now everybody's waiting for that. So now about 45 minutes into the show, and I do about 8 of these. We had a 3-hour show. We had a 2-hour show. I would just string them along all the way through it. And that's how I would keep my audience, and we would announce a match, and it was a pretty important match. But what kept them involved was the storyline that ran through it. Not necessarily the matches, but And I don't know why WWE can't do that. Because that would keep me, okay, this is happening in real time, I'm thinking. So what's going to happen here? And that's the only reason you watch something is to see how it turns out or what happens. But there could be something that happened in there that would be totally like changes the whole direction of it. But you have to watch it to find out. That's what I would do, and that's how I'd run my show.
So you would open with that. Would you do a cold open? Would it be the video package first for the introduction, then
We do the opening, which is already in the can. We do that, and then we would open with sometimes a match in progress or something like this. No introductions, and so we had to get into this, and the announcers start talking. It's a lot of high energy at that point, and then after that match would play, we would go live, and everybody knew it wasn't live. They didn't care. We're going live to the streets of San Juan. I don't know how maybe we didn't go live because it was at night. We go now, and they just say it, to Dutch and somebody else on the streets of San Juan. And then we start talking. And now, once they saw the first time, then when they saw it the second time, now they know it's a continuing story. So once I establish that precedent, all the rest of them we can do, the people know there's going to be others and others and others. And I work some hellacious angles off that. Because if they say you can't do it or it doesn't, it works. It really does. If you're using people in it, that you're pushing, and see, I only had like 16 people is all I had. That was my group. That was my lineup, 16 people. And you figure, I would have about 6 of them in the top main events, and then I'd have about 4 in the middle, and the rest of them were just interchangeable guys, but it all worked. And it was actually fun to do it. Because I would go in the office and sit down, and I was sitting there with a cup of coffee, and I said, "Oh God." The guy used to help me. His name Moody. He's working for AAA in Mexico now, and he'd say, "What are we going to do this week?" And I says, "I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. This is Tuesday. We got to do the TV, put the TV together. We've already done it, but we got to put it together." And then, well, he says, "You hadn't thought about it?" And I said, "No." "Well, when are you going to start thinking about it?" I said, "I don't know. Later, just leave me alone right now." And then when we would get together on it, I would just kind of lay it out, put it together. And Moody would always do the breaks and the this and the that, or the stuff we have to do that is not creative, but just has to do for the TV station and all this. And that's the way we would do TV. And Moody would have an idea, or I'd have an idea, and we would take it like that. I didn't really stress myself out on booking Puerto Rico because it is what it is, and I wasn't trying to satisfy the network because they didn't have a network. They had a TV station. And we would take, and I don't know where it was syndicated at, if it was even called syndication then, but they would send tapes to different places that we never went to. I forgot the place in Europe that we had our show on. And I was saying, why you got it? They had to be making money, because if they weren't making money, they wouldn't be bothering with it. But they kept me in the dark about a lot of stuff too. So, but anyway, it wasn't really, it was stressful, but it wasn't stressful.
So there you go. I mean, there's one man, one assistant, a cast of 16, or about that, and somehow you made more interesting television than WWE with the cast of Ben-Hur, 4,800 writers, and everything they do is so placeholder. You know, it's like the bare minimum of thought, and I bet they agonize over these tiny little details for these like few segments and drag everything out as much as possible. But man, it's a struggle these days. But
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a struggle. Write the story, what your main story is. Fill in underneath that with 2 secondary stories and have them kind of correlated together. Like when one's rolling, the others are rolling it too. When you get all 3 and maybe 4 rolling at the same time, now your top story can roll over and get back in the queue. And then your second story takes your main event. And when it rolls over, the third story, and I'm not saying they're going to go months and months, but you'll blow it off. And then by that time you're coming up and now everything is rolling and you can place it wherever you want. You can time it however you want. It's up to the writer, however he wants to do it. But as long as the story doesn't get boring, and when the story gets boring and you try to extend it, you need to can it. Because if you can't get excited about it, nobody else can either. So the writer has to write this story and stand behind it, but it's got to be pretty good. So, because say I had a writer, he has to give me the story. I only had one, Moody, but he would give me the story and I'd think about it. And then if we can do something with it, yeah, it was going to be in the lineup. It wasn't a hard job at all.
they make it.
We did 2 hours on Saturday TV and 2 hours for Sunday. And how many hours is that in a year?
4 times 52, so 208.
That's what we did, 208. And maybe take the 8 off, those like Christmas and Thanksgiving or holiday, you would run a repeat. But 200 hours a year that I booked for 4 years. That's 800 hours total. And I had a half an assistant, Moody. Moody's name is not Moody, but his name is Hector, was his name. And he got the name Moody because one day I'm sitting in the office and he was depressed as hell. And I went, what the hell is wrong with you? I don't know, man, and these and these and these and these. And one day he would be so depressed. The next day he'd want to be killing himself. So the third day he was about to kill himself, except that you had taken his place now and he had depressed you or he had depressed me. I wanted to kill myself. And then the fourth day he would be fine and I'd be at the hospital. And just chained up. But anyway, when he was really energized about a story, it's night and day. Great guy. I miss him a lot. Your greatest ideas come to you at the most inopportune times. But most of my great ideas that came to me are good ideas, not great, but good ideas that I would have. See, the first thing I looked in an angle is its ability to sell tickets. If you can sell tickets, we didn't have pay-per-view, so I had to sell tickets. But how entertaining I could make it. Because I was never on that, I'm going to kill you. And that to me is just too hard. Because you got a lot of kids watching too, so it's got to be. And a lot of my programming was like stupid. Not stupid, but,
wacky.
Yeah, like the Brock Lesnar thing, him falling down, it was hilarious. But if you get a few of those in the show that the people can laugh, I think people watch TV to escape. And that's why I watch it. And so if it's funny and I can laugh and I get a few laughs out of the show, and then a few things that want to make me say, okay, what's going to happen here? And if you can get them thinking, you got them. Was my reasoning. Was that sound reasoning or not?
absolutely. Do you know, I was thinking one thing that people don't do anymore is do an interview just before a match.
Yep.
Have you noticed that? It's only really just occurred to me. It's like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get you and you actually speak to the camera as if it's the person they're talking to. They don't really seem to do that anymore.
But I did it there. So this is what, sometimes I would do it right before the match started in the ring. And then all of a sudden now they can attack each other. Now they're in the ring and you got everything set up. Right. Crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff.
But it's not crazy. It's just like, hey, because and I did Puerto Rico 20 years ago. And I know things have changed, but I think they've changed too much. They took the human element in it and instead they put production in it. Oh, this great production. Great production doesn't sell tickets because they want a story. They want something happening at the end. And a lot of times at the end of the story, or when it should end, and this is another way, I don't want to change the subject here, but I never ended an angle. I stopped it, but I never ended it. Because who knows what happens? My main event guy can break his leg and he can't go. What am I going to do? So if I didn't end the story last week or 2 weeks ago, I can come right back with that story, make up something, a reason. The heel's bitching and complaining about it. I'm right back in it. So, that's, don't get lost in what you've done before. Get lost in what you can have coming up. Anyway,
I think that's as good a lesson. And the thing is, no one in WWE or AEW who can actually do anything about it will listen to it. Which is here's the thing.
They would say, who in the hell is Dutch Mantell? My God, get them the hell out of here. He hadn't done it in so many years, but it doesn't matter. I think if you had, like, say, 4 assistants, have them all come up with a different, unique angle on their own. And then some of them have to be good. If you give them this assignment twice or 3 times, they don't come up with one, you need to get rid of them. That's their job. So if you're not going to be creative, why are you there? To eat lunch with everybody? No. Give me something that is beneficial financially for the company. Create some characters that have a long-term run in them, and let's see what we get here.
Wrestling.
Who do you think came up with the Dominic Mysterio?
We'll get to that in just 1 minute. I promise you we'll get to that in 1 minute. I wanted to ask you this as a point. Or see if you think that people would say, well, Dutch was doing it in Puerto Rico 20-odd years ago. It's got no bearing on pro wrestling today. Here's the difference. There is no difference. Apart from the production values, the wrestling's the same. The promos are the same. The impetus to get people to buy tickets and pay-per-view and PLEs or whatever is exactly the same. The core elements of pro wrestling, whether it's in Puerto Rico in 2001 or WWE in 2025, are exactly the same. The only difference is that there seems to be so many more fingers in the pie and so many more people with opinions that everything just gets diluted, and then you just have to I think you just end up just coasting somewhere in the middle, not taking extremes or risks. I think you end up just treading water the entire time with too many people with too many opinions. WWE is too big.
Well, first of all, I never agreed. This is when Vince was there. I never agreed with his choice of writers. Yeah, they can write. I mean, they took English classes. They took writing classes. They took creative writing. They took all this writing. But that doesn't mean they can write wrestling. That's a special type of writer. And I can see it, it's clear in my head now to start an angle. I would either take one guy and put him out there and see how the people respond to him. And if they respond at just a little bit encouragingly, if they respond to him positively, well, okay, now he has room to build. If they kind of dump on him from the beginning, hey, your fans are your barometers. So if he's not going to excite them and they've never seen him before, and I'm not saying on TV, but the house shows, the live events, read your fans. And if they can sit there and go, nah, I don't much like him, because they're the ones that's going to determine ultimately whether the guy gets over or not. Now, if you put him out in one hell of a gimmick and he's this and that, well, you expect them to look at him, they're not necessarily going to hate him and they're not necessarily going to like him, but he is something for them to see. Now, you can't do that too much because then you'll wear that out. I mean, and it's all a matter of timing, placement, and fan interaction. So that's why I say it takes time to get a character over, and it takes a lot of work. So I would say if you're going to have a writer write about this guy, he needs to write for him all the time. Mm-hmm. So, but Vince didn't have that. And I'm talking about things I found wrong about it, because one writer for me, 1 week, and I get a different the second week, which I did. They're not even thinking. One writer may not even know what the other writer had written, or he didn't see what we came up with. So he's changing a writer. Already that's a chink in the system. So keep the same writer, I would think. That's a little thing, but it's really a big thing. But some of these guys they were just like guys that they applied for a job as a writer at WWE. Doesn't matter whether they had ever watched wrestling or not. And I think Vince wanted them not to be wrestling fans. I've read that. You've read that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was going, wait a minute. Why would they not be wrestling fans? That to me, it didn't sit well with me to the beginning, because now he's writing for something that he doesn't know anything about. Now, how could I go and write about NASCAR racing if I wasn't a fan of their racing? I wouldn't know about just simple things like the calibration of the carburetor. I don't know, just stuff that is technical. But, as a writer, you should know all that stuff. But they didn't. But anyway, it was a mess from the beginning, I think, a lot of times.